has just been a general question from the Conspiratorium. It seems a lot of people are interested in this. It has to do with psychic vampirism. And they just want to know what has been your personal experience in dealing with psychic vampires.
Well, I've met, of course, in my life, a lot of everything that I do in my work is based on personal experience to some extent. You see, when it comes to that specific subject, I've met my fair share of, corrupt people, amoral people. And some of them can be described, not all of them, but some of them could easily be described as vampiristic. And then, of course, it's like a study like any others. One can then go and research it, listen to what other people have to say about it. I'm very much an advocate of that it's an ongoing thing. And especially that the medical profession are way behind in their understanding of what pathology really is. They're not the only ones, but it matters because most of ordinary people who feel ill, and I don't mean just with a physical disability, like cancer or something, but inwardly, the rates of depression, the rates of feeling bad. Through this psychic vampiristic work, we come upon an interesting rebuttal against, what is thought in normal life, and that is that and this is a sort of a delusion that's broadcast a lot by the New Age movement, and that is that you are ultimately responsible for every evil thing that happens in your life or whatever. And of course that is absolutely true to a degree, but the claim that you are in complete control of every aspect of your life is lunacy. It's simply not the case. We are walking in a sea, a plasma of other people. We may have very corrupt people around us acting as if they're, God's gift to mankind or whatever, and they may not mean us well on a very subconscious level. And we also can encounter people who are deeply disturbed. I said, in fact, I even structured my whole psychic vampirism presentation to say that even if you never meet an actual vampiristic person, because most people actually won't meet somebody like that, but you probably will be meeting, other criminal types, or people who are, say, neurotic or schizophrenic even, or obsessive compulsive, or what was the other one? Narcissistic personality disorder. More than likely, you already know people who are like this. And so it's not just a case of vampirism, that's an extreme situation. And so I have met people who are extreme in that sense. And also, to reiterate, when you're in the company of these people, even one of them, unfortunately, that little, quip of what appears to be common sense, that you are now, responsible, that your maladies, your illnesses, your confusion, your material losses, your emotional disturbance is all your own affairs of what's going on inside of you, needs to be reviewed, and it needs to be reviewed very, very soon. And it needs to be reviewed across the board, because you are absolutely, by giving your trust, by giving your love, by giving your assets over a long period of time, even to a family member or certainly some other strangers that have become acquaintances, you do indeed now stand to suffer deeply, deep emotional hurt, deep emotional harangue. And this is where it led me. Of course, the more interesting part is that vampirism actually isn't just simply the old famous cliche of being sucked of energy. This is what all the other teachers and all the other books are saying, and it's only about 50% of the problem, and in a way doesn't even constitute the main type of attack. Now, I know this is going off the question a bit, but I just want to emphasize this again. The so-called idea, the cliche of being drained of energy certainly does happen, but it's only one part of the attack, right? One of the most dangerous aspects of the attack, and for some people the most dangerous, is to actually be dumped on by the other person. Now, this is a very complex thing we had to get into. How does that happen? You have to start understanding bioenergy and how it works. You have to understand what a human being really is from a cellular level up, and it's not what we think. And you have to understand about courting and the exchanges of energy in a very deep, intimate way, and how you play a role in that, and how the other person also plays a role in that. So there's a whole, there's a lot of stuff there to unpack and understand in this game. But yeah, I mean, in my work in general, going back to the question, you will not find anything in my work that is not from personal experience.
Well, then, as a follow-up to that, Michael, Darren asks, how would one defend against legitimate magical attacks and potent psychic vampirism from a skilled and experienced enemy?
Yeah, well, that's That's crucial. And it kind of goes back to something we spoke about earlier, which is unless the victim has self-knowledge, you really can't defend. There's all sorts of defenses, and I'm going to have a video appendices, an addendum, which goes into protection aspects a little bit more than we did in the main presentation, because again, I'm very resistant to tell anyone what to do. That's not what my work is all about, but there are certain protections, and we'll certainly go into that in a video addendum soon to be uploaded this year. But again, it comes back to that the supreme form of self-defense is simply self-knowledge. When you know your own settings, and this is slightly different than what people might imagine, meaning when you know the sort of temperature, let's say, the temperament, your own temperament, when it's like a dial. You just know what your thoughts are, you know where your levels of anxiety swing, you know how good you feel on your ups, and you know how bad you feel on your downs. This kind of understanding of yourself in totality is good to have, because then when it swings way, because when vampiristic people come into you, you're going to feel so out of sorts, so damaged, that you're going to need to have that counterbalancing sense of equilibrium. The vampiristic kind of person has the greatest success with people who've suffered enormous trauma and enormous loss throughout their lives. People whose consciousness has been already so atomized, so traumatized, that when this vampire comes up, because remember, let's emphasize again that vampiristic people in general are not three-headed fang, monsters with fangs. They can be some of the most charming, erudite, giving, in the beginning stages, people that you could ever want to meet in an extreme way. And so you're liable to give your trust, especially people who've been beaten up a lot, people who've had a lot of difficulty in life, people who've been underdogs, people who've been outsiders, who trust, who need a lot of warmth and affection from some. Those people are just walking victims. And so vampiristic people will be attracted to that kind of quiet, introverted, somewhat neurotic in a very small n way, I mean, good people who have not had a lot of worldly experience. They're the people that are attacked. People who are stronger, people who are centered more, and people who've lived a kind of a good life, a better life, usually are not victims of vampiristic people. Simply, they're just too constitutionally strong. They may be too mobile. They may be able to throw off, depressing thoughts and so on, you see, because their life has been a lot better. So this is an important aspect. Tied into this understanding of self-defense is the whole concept of forgiving evil, having compassion for evil. You find this bleeding into, it's very strong in religion. That's where it came from. Before we talked about some of the pestilence of religion, well, that's high. I think that's on top of the list. Is this whole nonsense about unconditional love and forgiving evil? I mean, what nonsense is this? This can easily be demonstrated to be a falsity. Because philosophically speaking, the moment that you forgive any evil anywhere, well, let's put it this way. If you forgive an evil that has happened to you, over which you think you have the right to do that, and you may proceed to do that, the problem with that is that from a philosophical point of view, you are now actually acting in a way, from a moral philosophy point of view, that you are now prepared to forgive all evil anywhere in the world, and that's happened to people you don't know. But obviously common sense tells you you don't have that right. How can you possibly forgive the evil that's happened to people, that you have never met? And those people may have a completely different attitude towards it, and they're certainly not inclined to forgive it. How dare you on a philosophical level? You see, so there's philosophical connotations of everything that we do. And therefore, forgiving evil, you may think it's wonderful and it's really good and it's compassionate and isn't it written in the Bible and all, but the real action of doing it is exactly what the evil wants. It's exactly what evil wants, is to be forgiven. And another nuance to this is this, that those people who keep on talking to you about forgiving evil and wanting to be compassionate are those people who are probably, whether you realize it or not, morally so dirty that they want the world to believe this, because they're the ones who are going to be in need of some sort of compassion in their own lives down the line. Now, this is brutal truth, but there you are. The person who is totally moral and who doesn't make long, or deep moral infractions, he doesn't talk about compassion because he's got nothing to be seeking compassion for. The person who is trying to push that dogma, we should have learned this by now. This is one of the traits of evil that we wanted to unpack and understand. Well, this is what we're doing. This is it. What is evil? How does it work? Evil is always going to be waving the flag of unconditional love. Unconditional love means you give all of your resources, all of your emotion, all of your love to people who don't deserve it. That's what unconditional love means, by the way. Who told you to do that? Who told you to do that? You better damn well have boundaries and conditions on your love. Where do we learn that we would never do that in any other case? And by the way, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it, and come back to me later, 5, 10 years later, and tell me whether giving unconditional love is the best thing you ever did. You'll soon learn that it's a nonsense. It's a phantasmagoria dreamed up by some of the most evil and immoral people in this world. You do not forgive evil, you punish it. You reward good and punish evil, right? That's what you do. Your job is to have compassion for the victims of evil. And as we said before, learn from evil. Forget about forgiving it and having compassion. That is a no-no. Big no-no that's keeping this world in the state of decay that it's in.
Well, thank you for that, Michael. And we definitely have a lot more to get into on those subjects and coming up on the next MTSAR Conspiratorium. And for all the listeners that are hearing this, you should definitely check it out. It's going to be on Wednesday, May the 29th. And we also have a fantastic discussion coming up between myself and Michael on American Freedom Radio. And you can tune in live on American Freedom Radio if you just go to AmericanFreedomRadio.com. It's at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we're going to be going for about 2 hours. And it's definitely going to be a great segue into the actual MTSAR Conspiratorium event. So thank you so much for your time, Michael. And we definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, and I hope people will tune in. There'll be information on my MTSAR.com site linking to the Facebook and linking to the event. Also, people should definitely check out this interview because it's going to be one of those monumentally important interviews, the one we're going to do together, because it presents a new way of looking at not only the 2012 scenario that's sort of over, but it's not really over. It will present a scheme there, a new way of looking at the entire movement, the alternative research community, plugging into almost a new way of looking, having a vision of where we've been, where we are now, and where we'll be going. And people can then study this format, the scheme that I'll be putting forward, and they can either study it and reject it or take it on board. But it will be brand new. It will be presenting for the first time a groundbreaking analysis and understanding of what we've been doing before 2012, the present day, and then moving into the future. And I think it's a vital thing to have that tripartite understanding.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to having you share that, because I think that these types of questions and these topics are exactly what we do need to be discussing in the alternative research community. And I think it's long overdue. So I can just say on a personal level that I'm very excited for that discussion, and I definitely look forward to it. And yeah, people should tune in for sure. And if you need any more information, go to Facebook to the MTSAR Conspiratorium page. Get on there. You can ask questions. You can post your questions there, and we'll be reviewing those as well for the upcoming event, where you can have a chance to interact with Michael and ask the questions that you've always wanted to ask. So definitely stay tuned for that and check that out.